So supposedly an Oblivion remake is coming out relatively soon, hopefully this year, and by a remake I mean they are full-blown, at least visually remaking the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and while Elder Scrolls fans are sitting around absolutely desperate for anything Elder Scrolls related, seeing as how it's been, I don't know, 14 years since Skyrim came out, it's good news to know that a remake of the fourth Elder Scrolls game is supposedly coming out soon. At least it gives us, and it gives a lot of people, something new to play. I mean, I've played Oblivion, but I haven't played it all the way through. I'm definitely going to when they remake it. But anyway, this video is just going to be me talking about my wish list for this remake and exactly what I think they need to do for this game to be good and to be worthwhile. Because, let's be honest, Bethesda really needs a win right now, and if they were to release a really, really good remake of Oblivion, making it more accessible to modern audiences in terms of the graphics and like updated mechanics and things like that, I think that's going to be a really big win for them, because you're releasing a huge, I mean, Oblivion's a huge game. It is a massive game, and there's a lot of people who haven't played Oblivion. There are tons of people who played Skyrim, millions of people, in fact, who played Skyrim but never touched Oblivion. And so you're giving an opportunity, you have an opportunity to introduce this game to a whole new audience. So I want to go through my wish list, what I think they need to do for this to be good. And starting it off, first and foremost, obviously the graphical enhancements have to be really good. Now the rumor is that they are remaking it in Unreal Engine 5, but that will just be kind of like the top coat, the top layer, if you will be Unreal Engine 5. So it's going to look like a modern game. It's going to look new. And hopefully that translates over to like character models, because one of the big things in Oblivion is like the NPCs are absolutely hideous. It's one of the things that gives the game a lot of charm, because it's kind of funny how terrible the NPCs look. But at the same time, it's like if you're going to release a remake, they can't look like that. So that's the big thing, is like the graphical upgrade is, I mean, the graphics and the game being outdated and the game being from 2006 is a big reason why so many people haven't played Oblivion yet. So that's kind of the first thing they need to nail. Hopefully it looks like a modern next-gen game. Unreal Engine 5 has all kinds of crazy capabilities. Apparently they're going to keep the creation engine still as like what's making the game function, but the top layer, the visual layer that we will see as the player, will be Unreal Engine 5. So again, just make the characters, make the NPCs look better. The character creation for the player, I mean, it's so hard to make a player character in Oblivion that doesn't look absolutely ridiculous. And in fact, most people who play the game now just try to mess with the character creator as much as they can to make their character look downright ridiculous. So that's the first thing that needs to be fixed, is just the way the game looks. And obviously that's kind of like the point of this whole thing. Next up, you cannot touch Jeremy Soul's soundtrack. It has to be exactly the same. If you want to bring in Jeremy Soule to remaster the soundtrack, to like re-record the soundtrack exactly how it was, then I guess that's okay. If you feel like the audio just sounds outdated, I don't know how all that works, but I think you should just leave the soundtrack exactly the same, because the soundtrack is such a big reason why that game has so much nostalgia. It's a big part of the game's charm, and Jeremy Soule is, in my opinion, the greatest video game composer of all time, and I think it's an absolute tragedy that he's not doing the Elder Scrolls 6 soundtrack. I'm actually really upset about that, like more so than you can even possibly fathom how upset I am that Jeremy Soule is not doing the Elder Scrolls 6 soundtrack. But yeah, just leave the soundtrack the exact same, because I think one of the big issues that they're going to face with this remake is how do we remake the game for modern times but also maintain the same charm that Oblivion had? And by the charm, I mean like the game was super janky, the NPC AI was super weird and quirky, and all kinds of weird stuff happened. And it was just like one of those things where it's like any sort of interaction you had with NPCs out in the open world could be really funny just because of how weird and janky everything was in that game. And so, that's part of the charm of the game. And another part of the charm is the incredible soundtrack. So it's like, how do we maintain as much of the original charm from Oblivion as we possibly can? And I think one of the main parts of maintaining that charm will be the soundtrack. So just leave it as it is. Do not have someone else record it. Don't do anything with it. Just leave it as it is and keep it in there. Now, next up is the dungeons in Oblivion. As far as I know from everything I've heard, in 2006, they had one developer design every dungeon in the game. And so it got pretty repetitive, and there were just kind of like a lack of assets in general within the Dungeons of Oblivion, to where it's like you got lost really easily because the areas you were exploring were not like distinct or unique. It all just kind of looked the same and blended together. So unless you're checking your map over and over and over again, like every 2 seconds, it's really easy to get lost in the Dungeons of Oblivion. So I think that's a big thing, is making sure that the dungeons are, unique. Like, add more. That's another thing. Are they going to add more, assets to the game, like brand new chairs, brand new barrels, brand new paintings, brand new, obviously, they're remaking the game, and I don't understand anything from a development standpoint, but I'm just curious to see how, if they're going to put brand new assets into the game or not. So yeah, making the dungeons a little bit more unique, and the same goes with the Oblivion gates. I feel like whenever you went into an Oblivion gate, it was kind of the same experience every time. So maybe finding a way to make those a little bit more unique would be a really nice thing to do for the game. Another thing that is just kind of funny from Oblivion, and another part of its charm, and that's the problem you face when you're doing this, is how do we maintain the charm? Because part of the charm of Oblivion was the fact that they recycled the same 5 voice actors across the whole game. There was like 5 people voicing all these different characters. It was just hilarious how every single NPC pretty much had the exact same voice. It was one of like 5 voices, and it was the same thing. And so it's like, are you going to bring in a whole new cast of like way more, like, I don't know, 100 voice actors, 200 voice actors, and re-record the dialogue lines? Or are they going to keep the dialogue exactly the same? Personally, I think that they should bring in a whole new cast of people to re-record the lines, because I just think, if you're remaking a game for modern times, I feel like you probably can't have the same 4 voice actors across the whole game. But that's just me. I mean, I know a lot of people have a lot of love for those original voice actors, and I definitely do too. But I definitely do think that they should probably just re-record all the voice lines. But that might be a really big undertaking. It might be super expensive, so I don't know if they're going to do that. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that as well. Personally, I think for the remake, they should re-record all the lines with a whole new cast. You let me know if you agree with that. A lot of the rumors and leaks and stuff are saying that they overhauled a lot of stuff with the combat system, and they changed up the menus and have made everything a little bit more accessible. And like, I don't have a problem with that. I think that the menus in Oblivion, while once you get used to them, they're really not that bad. They're honestly like not that good in general. So I hope that they do change up the menus a little bit and make them, Skyrim, I felt, had a perfect UI. With just, you push circle, it brings up this wheel, you got the map, you got the inventory, you got the skills, and you got the magic and all that. I think that was a really good system. So maybe something along those lines. And I really do hope that they maintain, though, the paper, the ink and pen, the paper and pen, the paper and ink aesthetic that they had, where it's like everything looks like it's paper and everything looks like it's like written on with a pen or whatever, or quill or whatever you want to say. I hope they keep that aesthetic, because I think it's really good. And then same thing when you're like picking your class and you're picking, all the like unique paintings that they had for each of your classes. Like if you pick the knight class, the knight has like a cool unique painting associated with it. Just when you're picking it, just in the menus. I just think that stuff's really cool, and it gave it a lot more of a fantasy vibe, than I feel like a lot of Skyrim did, because Skyrim didn't really have that. So I just loved the whole like high fantasy vibe you got from some of those art pieces when you're picking your class and stuff. So hopefully they do that as well. Now, another thing that's been rumored is that they are going to be including all of the DLC for the game. So I honestly hope that they do that. I hope that's true, because I want to play the Shivering Isles DLC. I want to play Knights of the Nine. I want to play any of the other stuff that they added. All the player homes and things of that nature. Like, hopefully all of the DLC content is just included in the base game. And that kind of leads me into my final, wish list point. And that is basically that I feel like for Oblivion, I like the idea of the Creation Club. And I know a lot of people hate the Creation Club because they hate the paid mods thing. And I get that, but honestly, if that's the way that we can continue to get new content added to an Elder Scrolls game, like Skyrim, for example, has gotten a bunch of really nice expansions that are made in the Creation Club that you do have to pay for, like the Bard's College expansion. It's $10, but you get a complete overhaul of the Bard's College quest line, and it's fully voiced, new characters, new everything, new storyline, new quest line. And I used to hate the idea of paid mods, but I've come around to it, honestly, because if you were to go download all of the, like if you were to buy the anniversary edition of Skyrim and all of the content, all the extra content that's been added from the Creation Club, it's actually ridiculous how much new stuff got added to the game. And then if you were to go in there, say they were to release another edition of Skyrim, which I know people would love that, but if they released another edition of Skyrim and it had all of the other expansions that they've made over the last couple of years, like the Bard's College one and some of the other ones, like if they were to release a package of every single paid Creation Club item that you can buy in one game, it would be massive. You'd have hundreds of hours of new content to explore. So I have come around to the idea of the Creation Club. I like the idea of the Creation Club. So I hope that there is Creation Club support for Oblivion, because I think it'd be really cool to see new things, new quests, new weapons, new everything added to this brand new Elder Scrolls experience that we're getting. Even though it is the same experience we had, it is newer. And obviously you couldn't make a Creation Club for the original 2006 Oblivion, but you could for this new one. So I know there's been some rumors that because of the Unreal Engine 5 thing, it's like modding isn't going to be really possible with it, or it definitely won't be as customizable as like their regular engine typically is. So I don't know how that's going to go, but hopefully, people can still mod the game at a pretty decent rate. And then I didn't really fully talk about it, but obviously overhauling the combat system a little bit. I personally like Oblivion's combat system. I think it's light and floaty, and I just like it. It's just fun. I don't hate it, but the rumors that they overhauled the block system, they fixed the archery system, they fixed the stamina and all that. Just the quality of life stuff to make the game a little less frustrating to play combat-wise. I'm obviously on board with all that, but that's my wish list for this Oblivion remake. I think it's pretty standard stuff that like most people will probably agree with. If there's anything that I missed, if there's anything that you wish will be in the game that I didn't talk about, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more Elder Scrolls videos, subscribe to the channel. I'm going crazy with the Elder Scrolls content, and leave a like on the video if you liked it, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.